Okay, let's say hello this morning. Let's give her a nice round of applause and a warm welcome to the show. Look at that, Isabel. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How lovely to see you. We've not met before, and how lovely to have a conversation before the big webinar tonight about Philippa of Lancaster.
Should I put the image, the phone, because I couldn't get you on my computer?
You look absolutely. No, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so lovely to meet you, Mademoiselle. And could you tell us first of all how you got to be writing about Philippa of Lancaster?
Well, I'm a journalist, and I was working in a daily newspaper when I'd written several books about teenagers and other things. And a publishing house asked me if I'd like to write a historical novel. And they asked me about who, and the name of Philippa of Lancaster was top of mind without even thinking a lot about it. And when I thought about it, sometimes I do that. First I talk and then I speak. First I speak and then I think.
Same here.
And it was the most intelligent choice, as my parents were English, both of them, and Philippa was the only Portuguese princess, only English princess who became Queen of Portugal. So it made sense. I'd always heard about her since childhood. My father was a historian, so we'd always talked about Philippa. So I tried, and I wrote my first historical novel, and it was about Philippa. Since then, I've written 11 others, but Philippa is Philippa.
Hold on a minute. You've written 11 other historical approaches around Portugal?
Yes, about 11 queens and 2 kings.
How amazing. Okay. Were you educated in Portugal yourself?
Yes, I was. Well, my father came to Portugal to negotiate, to work in the embassy, the British embassy, still during the Second World War. And he came to be part of the team that negotiated the Azores base. And then they stayed in Portugal. They had 8 kids. I was the 7th. And we were all born in Portugal, but in the British hospital, which was at least they spoke English with my mother, but my mother and my father were always very into the Portuguese community, because there are lots of English at that time that came and then stayed in a sort of small English community. But my parents always got really involved in the Portuguese life and in Portugal.
How amazing. It sounds like a book should be written about that whole story as well.
Yes, I think so. I only write about people that don't have close families still alive. That gives me a bigger freedom. I'm happier with Philippa.
Well, that's incredible. So I'm imagining you would have learned a lot about the Portuguese royal family at school. It's very precious to the Portuguese, isn't it, to know about their royal family, and Portuguese children are brought up on the historical facts of the country, especially the royal family, and it's such a great history.
Because if you think that it's the same, knowing the royal family or knowing Portuguese history is practically the same as.
Yes.
As it's the Republic came to Portugal only a century ago.
Yeah, right. So it's an incredible history and a proud one at that. And you were clearly became passionate about it yourself. And she was top of your list. And I don't want to spoil it for people who will be joining us on the webinar tonight, because we're going to be having a deep dive, as it were, into the life and impact of Philippa of Lancaster. But briefly, what was it about her that made you just think, well, it's got to be Philippa of Lancaster that I write about? Why is she such a favorite for you?
She's a favorite because at the time I knew her story better than any other Portuguese queen. I started to write about queens, and that was what made the difference. I didn't choose them because they were women, but I found out that very few people knew a lot about who they really were, and so that was interesting for me to find out. And Philippa is a change of a dynasty, so it's from our first dynasty to our second dynasty, and because she married very old, she would have been what in Portuguese we say she would have an age where marriage wasn't even, she was 28, and 28 was very old for that time.
Really?
Yeah.
So she'd have been thought as to be too old to be married at 28.
Yeah, so 28. But in fact, she has 8 children, so she proves that she can be a mother even though she's old. And the fact that she was old means that she had the right to a very good education, and that makes all the difference when she comes to Portugal, and she insists that her children also have a very good education, and that education will change and will change Portugal. That education that she will give her children will make what Camões will later call the Illustrious Generation. Henry the Navigator, and a girl that went north instead of south, like the discoveries. And the girl was the Duchess of Burgundy, who is one of the most important medieval women. So through having a much higher educational level than it was normal for women to have at that time, I think she changed Portugal.
And would that have been something of a bonus? Because it's often portrayed in history or certain accounts of it that, you know, the princesses are brought in as like baby making machines almost, aren't they, for angry kings? Would that have been the case with her? Would she be first and foremost seen to be a woman who could produce children for the king, or was this all known and part of a plan?
They had the princesses are pawns in a chess game.
Right.
They moved around by the convenience of their husbands or their fathers, normally their fathers.
Yes.
And then their husbands. So it's not trying to sort of coat their life with golden colors, because it was a hard life.
Right.
But the fact that she had lots of children was her mission. I mean, women were seen as machines, as you were saying, to produce heirs, and especially male heirs. But that said, she is able to keep her children in her sort of influence, and she is able to educate them and make them be really well educated in the sense of learning, reading, learning a lot, and continue to be very related to England and Europe. And so that makes a difference. So she's a teacher also.
Yes,
she's
incredible.
A mother and a teacher.
Yes, so the very active and famous Henry the Navigator, and I believe Edward the Philosopher as well, a more sort of a scholarly child.
Yes,
as well.
Edward the Philosopher is amazing.
Yes.
Even more as a character than Henry the Navigator. Henry the Navigator is an impulsive, but he's very brave also. And the daughter is amazing, because the daughter will be very good she'll be an Angela Merkel of Europe, and she has a very unfaithful husband that doesn't care too much about government, and she'll seize that opportunity to take the power and to really make a difference.
We will find out more tonight then at 7:30 on our call with Expats Portugal. Really looking forward to finding out more with you this evening. Before you go this morning, thank you for joining us. Could you just briefly tell us who else you've written about and where your books are available, the best place for people to find them?
The biggest books is in big bookshops like Fnac or Bertrand. They might not have the translation because 5 of my books are translated into English, and they might not have it at the moment, but they'll always find them. Or directly from the publishing house Livros Horizonte, you can find it online, and you can order it, and they're very quick. They're very good.
And some of the titles, if you don't mind?
Some of the titles. So in English, I've written the translation of Philippa of Lancaster, Catherine of Braganza, the tea.
Yes.
One that Isabel of Burgundy, the Duchess of Burgundy, so Philippa's daughter. And then there's a book that I think people that enjoy letters and enjoy another period of history, that is Victoria, Mary II and Victoria, 2 queens in a world of men.
Wow. Okay. Wonderful stuff. Yes, and it sounds like you really they're not dry historical works. These are
they're historical novels. Yes,
fabulous.
Fully researched, but historical novels.
Wonderful. A delight to meet you this morning, and really looking forward to talking to you more this evening.
And thank you very much, Carl.
My pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much, and come and see us again another time if you will. Isabel.
I will. Invite me and I'll be here.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There she goes. That's Isabel there.